Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to our June 7th special city council meeting. In the interest of government transparency with regards to deliberations and decisions made by the city council and according to open meeting law, since this meeting was posted as a Zoom meeting, this meeting is recorded by video and audio and will be conducted by remote participation. Additionally, all votes taken by the city council during this and future remote meetings will be by roll call vote. If you are calling in on your phone, you can press *9 to request to speak. If you're watching on a computer device, there is a raised hand button that you can tap or press to request to speak. Please use either of these options during oral communications to be recognized to speak. I'd like to announce the names of the city councilors that are here. Beginning at the front of the room, we have Scott Memard, Ward 1 City Councilor. We have at-large Councilor Jason Grow. We have Ward 2 City Councilor Tracy O'Neill, at-large Councilor Tony Gross. I'm Val Gilman. I'm Ward 4 City Councilor and I'm Council President. We have Jamie O'Hara, who is our at-large Councilor, and we have Frank Marjota, who is the Ward 3 City Councilor. And also in the room with us tonight is Grace Poirier, who is our Assistant City Clerk, and Ryan Knowles, who is our IT Director. Thank you for being here. As guests on our call, we have Jill Cahill, our CAO. We have Penny Costa, our Auditor, and we have John Dunn, our CFO. So before I introduce the first order of business, I'd like to ask councilors to stand so we can do a salute to the flag and a brief moment of silence that Councilor O'Hara will lead. The flag is right there.
Of a moment of silence for the peace in the world. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilor. First order of business, Madam Clerk.
That is the approval of minutes from previous council and standing committee meetings.
Councilor, in front of us tonight, we're approving 3 sets of minutes. Fiscal 23 budget review meetings from May 18th, 2022, May 25th, 2022, and May 26th, 2022. Is there a motion to approve these 3 sets of minutes?
So moved. Second.
Councilor Grow has moved it and Councilor Memard has seconded it. Let's do a roll call vote. Councilor O'Hara?
Yes.
Councilor Gilman? Yes. Councilor Gross?
Yes.
Councilor Grow?
Yep.
Councilor Majota?
Yes.
Councilor Memhard?
Yes.
7 in favor, 2 absent. And I just wanted to mention that both Councilor Nolan is not here tonight and Councilor Worthley will be late. He is coming. He's at a concert. Oh, did I not?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I say yes.
So we have 7 in favor, 2 absent. I'm sorry, Councilor O'Neill. And I'd just like to mention that Councilor Worthy is at his son's recital at O'Malley and will be here shortly. He's playing an instrument. He's very talented. We saw him at the Memorial Day ceremony.
Yeah.
So we've approved the minutes and next order of business now.
Public hearing 2022-17, public hearing on fiscal year 23 proposed budget. FY23 mayor's recommended budget.
Thank you. I'd just like to take a look to see who is in the audience and then I'll introduce our public hearing. So we have 14 people here in the audience that would like to participate in our public hearing, which is great. So to explain today's public hearing, it's public hearing on a fiscal 23 proposed budget, the mayor's recommended budget. And what we are going to do tonight in the public hearing, as soon as I open it, is we will begin by asking the administration to speak briefly about it. And then we will invite anyone that wants to speak to our council for up to 3 minutes to raise your hand, and we'll call you in to the meeting, and you can speak in favor or opposition. You can be specific on particular agenda items that you think are important. And we will listen to you, and we are doing nothing tonight to vote until, not voting until the 14th. So tonight is to listen, and then we'll have an opportunity to review correspondences that have been sent in. And we'll have an opportunity to ask questions of city staff if things need to be clarified for us. So without further ado, I'd like to open the public hearing and ask either Jill Cahill or John Dunn. I believe Jill Cahill, our CAO, if you'll tell us a little bit about the budget. Thank you for being here.
Sure. And Council President, I just want to let you know your paper is right in front of your camera, so no one can see your face. I don't know if you did that on purpose.
Thank you for your honesty. I love it. Thank you. Okay,
And thank you, Council President, through you to the members. Thank you for, I'm excited to be here tonight on behalf of the administration. As you know, the mayor presented this budget to you, what, a month ago now. And we were thrilled to work on it. I want to thank John Dunn and Grace McCann in that office. They were incredible to work with and supportive. All of our department heads worked really hard to deliver a level service budget with a few strategic investments. We had a great couple long days with the BNF committee. So thank you, Councilor Memhard, Councilor Gross, Councilor Worthley, and Council President. You were there for most of them. And I believe Councilor O'Hara was there for quite a bit of it too. So thank you for everyone who participated in that. I think we had some really healthy conversations. You will see that there's some small growth in the budget. I think that's healthy considering we've seen growth in revenues as well. We were able to introduce some strategic investments in some of the priorities that the mayor has raised, including the sustainability coordinator, and increasing the budget for potholes and road maintenance. So those were two of the areas that we really wanted to focus on. Obviously, there was some sentiment from one of the members of BNF in particular to increase in each of the budgets in each of the departments. And obviously all of us would like to be able to do so, but it is the responsibility of the administration to deliver a balanced budget and really to think forward into the future and make sure that we'll be in a good place going forward. So we're thrilled to bring this to you tonight. Myself and John Dunn are here to answer questions. I also see Ben Lomas and Kathy Clancy if you have anything school specifically related, as well as a few other of the department heads. But I think John and I are pretty familiar with all of it, and most of you who veterans on the council probably know it pretty inside and out by now too. But if there are questions, we're happy to answer them, and we ask for your support and thank you for your cooperation as we work through the process.
Thank you so much, Jill. Appreciate it. So just to reiterate what Jill just said, we have Jenny Benedict, who is the ED of the Sawyer Free Library on the call. We have Pam Toby, who is our Director of Constituent Service and Communication Services. We have Superintendent Ben Lummis. We have Matt Shank, our Public Health Director, and again, Kathy Clancy, who is the School Committee Chair. In addition,
And Madam President, Nancy Pappas, the assessor.
Oh,
And don't forget Ryan standing behind you.
I already introduced Ryan at the
Okay,
Oh, Nancy, I see you. So Nancy is our department head for the assessor's office, so thank you. So who would like to speak in favor or in opposition or give us feedback on the budget? You have up to 3 minutes. We will ask that you introduce yourself and your address and the floor. So I believe Lisa Smith, Grace is the first with her hand up. Welcome, Lisa. Call you in.
Hi, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Thank you.
All right, I'm Lisa Smith, 44 Haven Terrace, Gloucester. And I'm just here at the meeting today to say thank you for putting a sustainability director position into the budget. I'm a member of the Cape Ann Climate Coalition, and it's something that we were working hard to get added to the city. And we think it's very important because there are going to be a lot of things that the city has to do because of climate change. So that's why I'm here to say thank you to you and the mayor and everybody in the city who got this put in the budget for the sustainability director.
Thank you very much, Lisa, for attending. Appreciate it. Okay, other hands that want to speak in the public hearing? Next, we have Val Nelson. Val, would you bring Val in, Trace? And Val, would you introduce yourself and your address and address our council? Thanks.
Val Nelson, 7 Sunset Point Road out in Lanesville. And I would just like to add to what Lisa said by way of appreciation. You all may remember that last summer during the election season, the Climate Coalition advanced the concept of the importance of a sustainability coordinator position. And there are two major elements of this. One is that in other communities, the evidence shows that when you have someone in this position, they're able to secure grants that more than pay back their salary and bring funds into the city to do, whether it's carbon emission reductions or climate adaptation projects. It's a terrific investment in staff to enhance the resources the city has. I think the other thing that became clear, just to mention, is that it turns out that we've seen in our own community and also in other places that climate issues interrelate with so many different departments, whether it's DPW or health or open space or housing, and that it's really important to have someone whose job is to be tracking and making sure that all of these different departments in the city are talking to each other and reflecting and understanding what the climate agenda is. So thank you very much. The Climate Coalition and Town Green as well. Very much appreciate what Jill said is the strategic proposal from the mayor, and we appreciate as well the city council support. I think this is a really important and quite cost-effective and productive addition to the city budget. So thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you, Val. Next, we have Ellen Lehman.
Okay, now you can hear me. So I've also been involved in getting the
Would you
sustainability.
do us a favor and make sure that you tell us your full name and your address? Thank you.
Sure. Ellen Lehman, 16 Great Hill Road, Gloucester. So I've also been involved in doing all this research about sustainability directors and speaking to the mayor and the city council. And I'm very excited, and I want to thank you for considering this new position. It's very crucial in moving the city towards achieving the net zero that the state has mandated by 2050. I think it's going to be a hard one to achieve. So I think the city probably needs a lot of support in that. And the sustainability director is a good way to go. It will save money, it saves energy, and the person that will be hired also knows a lot more about climate adaptation and resiliency, which is another part of our issue with climate change. So I want to again thank you, the City Council, for considering this.
Thank you, Ellen. So who else would like to speak to the City Council for up to 3 minutes? Susan Hogue. You introduce yourself and state your address.
Hi, Susan Hogue, 2 Leverett Lane, Gloucester. I just want to congratulate you and thank you again for making this position. We all are just so excited about it, and it'll be a lot, it'll mean a lot for the city of Gloucester and the whole world, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan. So I'd like to see, would any members of the school committee like to speak, or Superintendent Thomas? If you do, would you raise your hand and we'll bring you in? Chairperson Clancy. Welcome, and would you state your address and your name?
Hi, good evening. Kathy Clancy, 78 High Popples Road, Gloucester, Massachusetts. I am just speaking so that you know we definitely hope you pass the budget as it's been presented. There are many very important initiatives in that budget that it's not just about adding positions, but it's about getting results and making progress on many of the areas of education that we need to continue to make strides on. We've had a terrific process through working with the city side with John Dunn. It's been a really very collaborative process with the city and with the mayor's office. So we do hope you approve the budget as it is presented. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to the city council for up to 3 minutes? Seeing none, the next part of our public hearing is correspondences. Madam Clerk, would you summarize the correspondences that we've received?
Yes, the council is in receipt of an email from Cecilia Carraza. And in that email, she expresses concern about the 6.3% increase in the budget and expresses that it may be well-meaning, but it's inconsistent with the reality of economic conditions. And the council also received a communication from Colleen Bresenthal. She linked an article, I believe that she wrote in the newspaper, and she states that she does not agree with the school department increase, particularly due to decreasing enrollment. And the council is also in receipt of an email received too late to be part of the official record from David Grace that has been distributed to all of the council.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The next part of our public hearing is for councilors to ask questions of city staff. So who would like to ask questions to either Jill Cahill, John Dunn, or Kenny Costa? Council Grow?
Thank you. I wasn't able to attend any of the budget meetings. So I guess my question would be to Joe Cahill regarding the community development department in general. And I know, obviously I know you're dealing with the challenges of finding staff to fill these positions. And I think we're 4 positions down now. Do we, even though we're behind in hiring vacant positions, do we have enough staff to do the work that needs to be done in that department? I mean, I'm glad that the sustainability director is being put into that place. That's awesome. Is it enough for you in terms of the challenges that we're facing in the broader scope of trying to plan out the next 25 to 50 years?
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Councilor Grow. And obviously this is a question that if you ask me as community development director, I would probably even have a different answer. But I will say a couple of things on that point. So one, the good news is, as you know, we have several positions posted. And this round of posting, we have an entirely different group of candidates and responses, from health director to ComDev director to conservation agent. So I think we're seeing kind of a sea change, and we worked really hard, and I want to thank Holly Dugbelow for that. We worked really hard together to find new places and new ways to reach people. So hopefully we'll begin to backfill some of those positions. To speak to the work, I mean, as the chair of P&D and having been just close and involved with the council, if this city could happily provide enough work for, I would say, probably 5 planners. The city of Salem has 12 planners. Could we do more with more planning staff? Absolutely. The council knows we rely heavily on consultants because of that. But from the now sitting in the administration seat and really having to make these tougher budget decisions, each staff position comes with more than just the cost that you see right on a piece of paper. It has pension and healthcare and all the other pieces. So I think, the mayor definitely, if he would have liked to add additional positions. And I think as we move forward, if the economy and revenues support that, we'll see an increase in that department. But I think at this time, we chose to go with sustainability coordinator as kind of the strategic piece to add to it. The mayor is hoping and planning to introduce a master planning activity late fall, maybe winter. We'll see how our schedules are going. And I think what comes out of that will help us drive the future as well. As you know, it's a busy department, and we could certainly use additional staff. And one of the things we even are, discussing things today, a great conversation with Suzanne Egan, the new general counsel, about what exactly a zoning officer and what the positions to support the zoning board of appeals could look like. So we have a great team with some really interesting perspectives and adding some vision. And I think the approach we're trying to take is slow and strategic so that the growth is managed. But I mean, the short answer is, of course, I'd take 5, but I don't always get what I want. So we're one at a time. We'll go one at a time.
Okay, one more quick question.
Go ahead, follow-up
If I could, well, follow up, and then also, so there is some thinking about beefing up that department over time as it fits into the relative budget needs of the rest of the city. With that in mind, I'd like to, if I could, just quickly ask Nancy Papos, I've always found assessments to be a bit Harry Potterish, a lot of stuff that I don't understand goes into them. Is there an effort in your department to look at the rapid increase in costs and properties and homes and commercial spaces in Gloucester and reviewing how those are being reassessed? I spend my time doing nothing kinds of things is to go and check out sort of property values and where things are in the state of the city. And I just wonder if our assessments are keeping up with the relative rise in the actual cost and value of property. And I'm not asking you to start on Marble Road, just for the record. But I would be curious to find out if there's an effort to sort of reevaluate some of the assessments that we have in the city.
Madam Clerk, would you bring Nancy Pappas in so she can respond to Councilor Grove's question? Nancy, welcome. Thank you for being here. Did you hear Councilor Grove's question? Would you unmute yourself so we can hear you? Nancy, would you unmute yourself so we can hear you? Oh, if you're calling in on a phone, you just have to hit *9.
She may have stepped away. I don't know that she was expecting a question. And I wish I could answer that for you, Counselor, but
maybe we can get it on the 14th.
And if Counselor, we'll have her, if she doesn't chime in, and I'll make sure she responds to you and she can respond to the council in writing as well.
Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Council Memard.
Jill, I'd like to thank you for making the effort to beef up our city's conservation department. It's something you and I have discussed over the past couple of years, and it's an area that I'm aware of a lot of frustration from constituents and residents seeing some slowness in responding to concerns or in following up on conservation violations and doing enforcement action. And I'm very encouraged that you and the mayor's office have been able to take a step, although there's a vacancy, as you say now, but to add what amounts to an additional half person in that department. And I hope that trend continues because, again, it's extremely active and busy. The Conservation Commission has a lot of matters before them every meeting, and there's work that we look to them to do in terms of protecting our environment in the city. So thank you for that action in the budget.
You're welcome, Councilor Memhard. And as we discussed in the hearings, it's another area as they wrap up the open space plan. I think you'll see some recommendations for some land management. And so there's some vision around that department as well. So we're looking forward to it.
Any other questions, councilors? Councilor O'Hara?
Thank you. Just,
Oh, leave it.
this is for Jill. Jill, in this time of record-breaking inflation, our constituents are obviously feeling the pain, as we all are. And how, as far as going forward, how do you see the city trying to reduce for future budgets, trying to keep the cost down so that the taxpayers aren't overburdened? We also, obviously, as Councilor Grow mentioned, dealing with the assessments on properties. We get constantly barraged with constituents' concerns about their rising tax bills, water and sewer, the fees. They're at a, if you will, a breaking point. And again, I can't stress with record-breaking inflation, gasoline $5-6 a gallon, home heating oil. Who knows what it's going to be this coming winter? They're maxed out. So I think we obviously can't control oil and gas and that kind of inflation. That's beyond our purview. But we as a city can control our costs. How do you see yourself or the administration assisting in this regard? Thank you.
I'll speak to a little from the vision piece, and then I'll let John add if he'd like. I think, Councilor O'Hara, you speak to exactly what was kind of our vision and our answer as to why we didn't, with increased revenues, just increase budgets across the board, right? There was an opportunity in this budget that we could have, in a new mayor, we could have done lots of new things, but this mayor is financially conservative and is pacing any growth, because we know that not only is there inflation, but the growth that's happening right now is eventually going to stop, right? We will fall into recession at one point, and we need to be prepared for that. So measured growth is probably the most important way that we're doing that, measured growth in our spending. And I think that most people know here we are working extremely hard. I think water and sewer is probably an area that people are feeling it the most. And we're working extremely hard to move forward with the wastewater project in a way that limits that burden on the ratepayers as much as possible. So we have our eye on that at all times. And that's the other reason why, and John reminds me regularly, we invest in our stabilization funds. So we will be ready when we get to those points. And John, I don't know if you have something you want to add.
Not necessarily, but yeah, again, we have to kind of move forward. And, certainly in terms of the councilor's question, the kind of where sorry, I seem to be frozen a little bit. So the council's question about, in terms of values, in terms of residential versus commercial industrial, that's always going to be a problem. So residential values are going to go up by much more than commercial industrial. And that's where the shift is going to be to the taxpayers.
Thank you. Does that answer your question?
That does to some extent. Again, I can't stress enough the pain that our constituents are feeling already, and what's ahead, who knows? But I think it's important for the city to really tighten the bootstraps on virtually everything: salaries, pay raises, it's a tough thing to say, but our constituents are feeling the pain, and I can't stress enough, it doesn't look like things are going to be getting much better in the coming future. With that said, it's a balancing act. We had a major fire on Western Ave not too long ago. So keeping our men and women highly trained in emergency services, that fire, we don't know the outcome, good, bad. I'm sure there were a lot of good things that were exercised in the fire. But I'm sure there's always room for improvement in our constituents. It's one thing that as a city owe it to our constituents when a situation like that comes about, that the men and women answer the call and can provide first-class service to our constituents, keeping them safe. So again, it's a balancing act, but I think it's prudent that we don't lose sight of everything that I've said going forward. So I appreciate your concern. Thank you.
So I have a question, unless anyone else has a question to ask.
I do. I can wait.
Oh, it's okay. I'm supposed to go last. So,
Oh, okay.
Council O'Neill.
Okay, so Jill, I guess this is for you. It's a very small line item. It's about the greenhead boxes on Marsh. And I'm wondering if one of the memo from Matt Schenk stated that it had to receive the support of the Gloucester Conservation Commission. And do you know if that has happened?
I don't, off the
Okay.
top of my head. I can
Right.
find out for you, Counselor.
Okay, and then there's an invoice from the New England Mosquito Control District dated April 11th, stating that payment is due within 30 days, which would be May 11th. So do you know if that has been done, or if we've paid them already?
No, it has to, we sent them this agreement and they know that because it's for fiscal year, it's for fiscal year 23. And so we sent them to sign agreement with the note that said pending council approval of the FY23 budget.
Okay, and so I'm from Wood too, and we are really tightening our belts. And this is not a lot of money. This year it would be 4,000. However, next year is 9,500. And then 2025 will be 4,700. So at worst, this octanol, I have a sheet here from yep, it's the EPA, which is confusing. And I had a discussion earlier today, but it's confusing. It says octanol as a pesticide active ingredient is used in attracting certain species of mosquitoes and biting flies, but the chemical itself does not kill insects. So I would say at worst, in my mind, it's a toxin or a chemical on our marsh. And at best, it's, in my mind, I hate to be so blunt, but an unnecessary expenditure. I don't think people are going to.
Counselor, can I just
Yeah.
mention that this is council questions. We're not
Oh.
deliberating right
Oh.
now on the budget. That is
Okay.
next week. when we
Okay.
Take the vote. So do you have any other questions on this?
Just raise
that
your
you-
voice at the end.
That you would like to?
Raise my
to
voice at
ask?
the end. I'm sorry?
The conservation.
Okay. All right, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So Councilor Majota, do you have any questions? Anybody else? Okay. So I have a question for our CFO, John Dunn. It's regarding a constituent letter that I got after the deadline, but Madam Clerk mentioned that it was from one of my constituents, David Grace, and he was asking us questions about the new water meters, and that the new water meters will pay for themselves in 18 months. And he said that in January, when our council approved the water meters of $1.4 million. And his question for this budget is why doesn't the fiscal 23 budget include an increase in consumption in a corresponding decrease in the rates charged to the users of our two enterprise funds? And I'd like to ask John Dunn if you could just kind of elaborate a little bit on that so we can better understand how this all fits together.
Well, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, thank you. So mostly it is because, we're not going to get consumption until all of the equipment is put in. So we just bought the equipment at the end of April, and there are, close to 7,000 meters that have to be maintained. So that's going to take some time. So we're not going to be able to see that, usage going through the system until in fact we have all of that equipment installed. Excuse me. A couple of other things about how this thing worked out is that we have municipal budgeting basically says that we're not going to really want to bring in revenue as a part of the budget until we actually realize what that revenue is going to be, and that's huge. So that's municipal budgeting 101. We just kind of want to take a look at how this works, particularly with water and sewer. It is based on usage. So if you all remember, how many people remember how many rainy days there were in July last year?
Quite a few.
Whole month.
Yeah, basically. So nobody used outside watering, nobody filled their pool. So, that stuff kind of happens. So what we try and look at in terms of usage is, what happens over the course of a couple of years, average it out, and that's how we kind of come up with it. So we're using a template that allows us to basically kind of put down where we think that the water and sewer rates have to be each year. And we are also looking to be able to get some type of reserves that will come into those water and sewer enterprise funds accounts, so that we can use them in the future. And we have used probably over the past 8 years, $3 million of those reserves to either hold down rates or to fund capital improvements without having to borrow for those. The other thing that I think your particular person pointed out was that, consumption in terms of the sewer project looked like it went up and was not really affected. But we have, over the years, again, part of those reserves that have come in to hold down the sewer rate. There was $200,000 last year for this current fiscal year of 2022, but that was not available in 2023. So that all affects how the calculation of the rates go. And as we look into the future, I think we'll be okay. But, at this point, it's really based on the amount of usage, amount of consumption, and, where the rates go in the future.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that. I know my constituent said he would watch tomorrow to hear your response, so I appreciate you describing.
And Counselor, you can certainly tell him to give me a call. I'd be happy to talk to him.
Great, thank you. So, councilors, I'd like to ask that we suspend the rules of procedure. Our public hearing is still open, and we have another person that has a hand up. So Without objection, I would like to ask Lisa Rigsby to be brought into the call. And Lisa, you can introduce yourself, state your address, and you can speak to us for up to 3 minutes on the budget.
Thank you so much. Gosh, it's a lot of reading, and I commend you in being able to get a grasp of everything. My question pertains to the upgrades of Green Street Park that were presented last year, and I haven't heard anything about it. I didn't see it on the open spaces draft report, and I don't know what I'm looking at, frankly, in the budget, but I didn't see like a line item or anything for the Green Street Park upgrade. And I was just kind of wondering, what happened to it? If somebody could speak to that, if maybe it's not in next year's budget, maybe it was last year's, and the work just hasn't been carried out yet. I'm not sure. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll ask either Jill Cahill or John Dunn to describe that. John Dunn?
All right, so that will be part of the $4.2 million that is ascribable to the elementary school project that is outside of the MSBA funding. So
Yeah.
So that is not going to be in the current budget. That is operational budget, but that will be in a capital budget, and it is there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does that mean that it is going to be executed this year?
I can't tell you exactly when it's going to be executed and what the timing is, but I can tell you that there's been a fair amount of money spent on that in terms of development. And so we'll see where that goes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa.
Can I ask a follow-up?
So we now will return to councillor questions. So Councillor O'Neill, you have the floor.
Thank you. This is for John again. Of the 4.2 million, that's part of the school project money that's not MSBA funded. Do you know how much will be spent on Green Street Park, on the park? Is there a number or is it just?
So the 4.2 million is kind of, it's a little bit loose in terms of how we kind of put it together. So there are a couple of pieces there, which is development of the ball field over at Green Street, the demolition of East Gloucester School, as well as, kind of development of the East Gloucester, school site once it's demolished. So it's a little bit fluctuating, but no, I can't tell you exactly what is going to be spent on each piece of it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other council questions? Councillor O'Neill, did you hear this?
No,
Oh,
no,
okay.
no, I'm thinking, sorry, thinking.
Okay. So without further questions, I think we're ready to close the public hearing. So I'll close the public hearing.
Where's your
And
gavel?
I left my gavel at home tonight, but
We need your assertion.
so, okay,
There you go.
closing the public hearing. So at this point, I just wanted to remind councilors that on the 14th is when we vote the budget. And encourage you to look closely at the approved minutes to understand all of the department meetings that we've had and be prepared to discuss and vote this in a week. We'll be here again, 7 o'clock on the 14th.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure. Councilor Grow.
When are we doing tax allocation? Property tax shift and all that?
We've already done that
No, good,
for this year.
right.
We haven't done the CP tax classification shift.
That's what I mean, that's what I'm talking about.
That's
It's in the fall, okay,
Right,
thank you.
so I meant.
I meant,
past
yeah.
year. Grace?
Did you want the poll?
Yes, in fact, thank you. So for those of you who are still on the call, we'd love you to give us feedback. We've made some adaptations since the first meeting based on your feedback. And we incorporated it into the minutes of the last meeting. And one of the things that we learned was that some of us were very far away from the camera. So our IT director and our mayor suggested that we have our faces back in a normal Zoom type of look. So we are all muted with one microphone here, and we've put our faces on the screen. It's a little bit odd for me because I want to be looking at all of you, and I'm looking up at the screen up there to see everybody that's speaking, but trying to look back at my laptop. But we're doing that based on feedback. And a few people had some issues with audio, so we've put the microphone closer to us. So I hope that for those of you who are in the last call, you can give us some feedback, but we'd love to get this Zoom attendee poll done, and we'll include it in the minutes. And we're trying to do continuous improvement as we get feedback from those attending.
Is this, can people who watch this later on can also vote, right? Or is this just for,
No, it's
just for these,
it's
this
just for
small
now,
sample?
for the people that are watching right now.
Because
That's a good question.
because people who watch it on Zoom are gonna see the same thing, so
Right,
it's really.
I can check with Ryan to find out if that's a possibility
This
to
is like,
connect that
what
when
is it,
people
four
watch it on
or
Zoom.
five people?
And I know that I would look exactly the same if I were sitting in my office, just.
Yeah, so would I. I'd actually have a better background.
I think it is rather nice though for us to be together here, but anyway, I might be in the
library is very
minority,
quiet.
but
I had a question. Oh, question I have is counselors, particularly since we have new counselors, who should they call? Members of BNF or Kenny? Because I know John always says, call me, but John's, out straight. Kenny works for us. He has the same information. So what's your suggestion to?
I think it would be really good to call Kenny if you have any questions,
Any
specific
hard
questions on the
clarification
budget.
questions, that.
Yeah.
Or call anybody on BNF.
Great. So I think we've concluded tonight's public hearing, and I appreciate everybody being here. I do know that both Sean Nolan and Jeff Worthy said that they would watch the Zoom recording tomorrow so they can get up to speed with the public comments, and that's one of the benefits of Zoom that we appreciate. I'd just like to also comment and thank Jen Benedict, who is the ED here at the library, for hosting or allowing us to have this meeting here at Sawyer Free Library, the support of the board. And it's very appreciated. It takes time and work. Also to thank Ryan Knowles, who is our IT director, for helping us set up all the technical stuff. So very much appreciated.
Flawless.
Flawless, yeah. So it's very appreciated. So is there a motion to adjourn, counselors?
Second.
Motion made by Counselor Grow, seconded by Counselor Gross, and I will do a roll call vote. Counselor O'Hara,
Yes.
Counselor O'Neill,
Yes.
Counselor Gilman, yes, Counselor Gross.
Yes.
Counselor Grow,
Yep.
Counselor Majota,
Yes.
Counselor Memard.
Yes.
7 in favor, 2 absent to end the meeting. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you so much. Thank you, city staff.